All right, welcome back to another edition of Up West Sports. You got both of your hosts here, Kyle Nolsey and Gavin Height, talking to you this time around. It's been a few weeks, if not months. Life's just life sometimes, so we're excited to be back talking about Mariners baseball, especially after everything that's been kind of going on. First on the docket is going from that 1-5 home series to now 5-1 on the road, finishing with a win today. I know this episode will come out tomorrow, but finishing with a win today over the White Sox and getting ready for the Astros series, which we're going to be previewing. And then also just kind of talking through a couple of the relief pitchers, what we like, what we'd like to see moving forward. Troy Taylor is kind of one of those topics that everybody is talking about. So we wanted to talk through Troy Taylor, his I guess youth, how young he is, the minor setbacks, and just returning back from injury. But we're really excited to be back on the air talking. And Kyle, we got some baseball stuff to talk about. Let them know.
Baseball stuff!
Baseball stuff!
Alrighty. So Mariners, I mean, you think about they had the inverse kind of 6 games where they, go 1-5, pretty anemic offensively, and then you come and, now you can take some things, I guess positively in that, and you go, okay, you're playing the Yankees, a team that all they do is score runs, right? And while you went, you went 1-2 against them, you gave up 15 runs in 3 games, and 11 of those came in a single game. So you lost 5-11, you won 2-1, and you lost 2-3. A team that's just loaded top to bottom in that lineup, and you're only giving up that. I mean, in the last 2 games, you gave up 4 runs. I mean, to me, that's impressive. Jeff Passan made a really good point. I think it was either this morning or yesterday, where he said this was the Mariners that you thought that they were going to be if they played their best. And that's pretty crazy to think when you look at our starting rotation from last year and you compare it to what we have this year, and we've got 2 of those people healthy. And then you look at our offense going, well, Luke Raley, he's out. Bliss out. Robles out. Yet look what we're putting together, and now you think about in the next 3 weeks, you're potentially seeing what? You got Kirby, slated to pitch here in the next couple days. Gilbert's supposed to come back. I mean, that you got Brash now back in the bullpen, which you didn't have for the first about month of the season. This team is, the way they're playing, and now you've added in these massive pieces. I mean, all you can do is just think. You got to be positive, right? Like, now the Mariners, they can make a great situation look absolutely diabolical, down the road. But you look at what they're doing, especially that Yankee series, and then you go look at that Padres series. That is a very, very, very offensive heavy team, lots of runs, and you gave up 3 runs in those games. I mean, that is, again, talking about you have kind of held your pitching staff together with, sticks and clay, and you go to pitch against them and you give up 1 run per game. I mean, to me, that's impressive. I mean, sure. And then I think he talked about it earlier. Yeah, we lost yesterday, 1-0, which you're going to have bad games, right? Just as much as, your ace is going to have a terrible start, might even make it 3 innings. Your offense is going to be anemic one of those games. And it's the White Sox. They have had our number for the last, 2 decades. So to have a 1-0 loss, oh, well, I mean, that's going to happen. The fact that you've now, you beat them 5-1, game 1, you beat them today 6-5 with a great, 8th inning comeback with Tavares with that 2-run bomb. I mean, you're going to take those bad losses. Now, I talked about this weeks ago where, how does this team we'll know if they're for real is when they hit these slumps, right? When they hit that downward trend, you get swept by the Blue Jays, you nearly get swept by the Yankees. Okay, what are y'all gonna do? Now we're seeing a screen of games where they just went one, like you said, 1-5, 5-1. I mean, that's how you respond. That's how you stop bleeding. So to me, that's the ultimate confidence I have in this team to say there's something here, and they're only going to get more firepower coming back in the next few weeks.
I agree. This is different from other years where the 1-0 loss to the White Sox, I would say 99% of those years, it sucks. And you're like, guys, you have to sweep those games. Those are the games you can't lose. And granted, should they have won that game? Absolutely. Absolutely they should. But going 1-5 to 5-1, answering the bell after just getting the bell rung at home against two quality teams. You can't sit there and tell me that the Blue Jays are going to win the World Series this year, but they always come into Seattle and play up. I think we all know why. The BC fans come down from Vancouver and they flood Seattle and they flood the streets and they do a good job. They do a good job. I can't fault the Blue Jays fans. I can't, not even a little bit, man. They do it. They do a great job. They help Seattle's economy just by being there. And so, yeah, they ended up coming in and rocking our world a little bit. They answered the bell. The great thing is this is just not, it's not a typical year. This is a year where you've seen a little bit more consistency. And if you haven't seen consistency, you've seen them answer the bell. I know I've already said that like 2 or 3 times, but you've seen them get out of a slump as we talked about. And we talked about that specific part multiple times. They went on 9 series in a row, winning all 9 series. Funny enough, never sweeping a series. Throughout those 9 straight wins through those series, never sweeping until they finally got to the Padres, which was already, the 9 games had been broken up by the 1-5 at home. But with where they're at and what they've done, it's just different, right? Last year they were up 10 games and you could see the wheels start to fall off. This year, there's a meme. I had to look it up because I'm probably gonna throw it in there, but it's "you fool, this isn't even my final form." We got guys that are still ready to come back. Logan Gilbert was throwing the baseball in Texas, not very far removed from being gone. George Kirby coming back tomorrow, getting the start, which we're excited about. We'll pull that up here so we can talk about it. But this is the series coming up. This was today's game. Hunter Brown, Taj Bradley, and the Rays won. Thank you, Rays. But you got George Kirby taking on Lance McCullers. You got Emerson Hancock, who's starting to turn a corner, taking on Ryan Gusto, and then Brian Wu, Framber Valdez. That one's going to be a great game. We know that's going to be a good game. If you got money on the under, you're probably going to win some money. And then you got Luis Castillo taking on TBD. It's probably not going to be Hunter Brown since this was a back-to-back series for both teams. So we don't know because Blanco is out. We don't know what's going to happen with them. And if the Adrian Hauser is any indication, then maybe this maybe getting that spot start from just a rando isn't in our best favor. But I don't know. I like this series. And this is now kind of the true test moving forward because we went 1-5. We bounced back 5-1. Now this is okay. We got an in-division rival. We've set the bar back to even on where we were. We're in a good spot. Now you have a chance to put the number 2 team. All right, I think they're tied right now. I think them and the Rangers are both 3.5 back. But you now have a chance to go ahead on somebody and put it to 4.5 or 5.5 games back, getting through the series. So I think this series is very big for confidence. But it's also, we're excited about what we got going on moving forward. Hopefully we get Gilbert back in the fold within the next month or less. Bryce Miller is still kind of, you don't know what we're going to expect with him. We could see him back in a month. He could be out for the rest of the year. We just don't know where Bryce Miller is, and it's crazy that it took him that long to finally address that situation. I didn't want to talk about it too much because they've addressed the situation. He's now on the IL, hopefully getting the help or treatment that he needs to get back. Because right now we're knock on wood, but we're in a good spot. I'd rather him get healthy. I'd rather lean on a little bit of our hitters, and hopefully we can out hit some of these teams when we need to. Emerson Hancock has been stepping up. Logan Evans has been stepping up. He gave up, was it 3 bombs today or something like that? Didn't look amazing. I think the one gripe I have really with a rookie, I'll leave it at that, is that he walks too many guys for what he has been and shown throughout the minor leagues. He hasn't been somebody that walks a ton of guys, and he's been walking a few more than I would have liked. But he's, at the end of the day, he's still a rookie. He's still within his first 10 starts in the bigs. And he's a serviceable number 4 or 5. You package that in with Emerson Hancock, who's also another serviceable 4 or 5. Yeah, I mean, that's most teams right there that end up going and making deep playoff runs. Now you can hopefully move one of those guys back to 5. Logan Evans probably at this point gets the shift once you get Logan Gilbert back, probably gets the shift back to AAA just so he can continue crafting his stuff up. And, you can take a look at him as spot starts are needed down the road, or if anybody else goes down, whatever the case may be. But now he has major league experience. That's huge. I think Emerson Hancock has worked his way into a consistent starter role, and we're starting to see him turn a corner. I know Kyle and I were talking about it before the game. He's from University of Georgia, and when the Mariners drafted him, he was in that 95 to 98 range, playing in hot weather. And if you've never been to Georgia, it is hot. So we're starting to turn the corner in Seattle, getting into those great June and July months where it's great weather up there. Our hitters start turning a corner in Seattle, but now we're getting into his territory, and hopefully we're starting to see 96 to 98 back on the mound. I know it was 97.6 a couple times, but on the good old-fashioned radar gun, it said 98. So we're going with it. We're starting to see a lot of cool things turn a corner here. Nosey, what's your thoughts on getting these guys back with George Kirby tomorrow? Probably per Brady Furcus, actually. He's on the scene in Chicago, so I wanted to give him a shout out. Per Brady Furcus, it looks like Dan Wilson's probably going to limit him to 75 to 80 pitches, which we all know with George Kirby, if he's on, that could be 8 innings, could be even a CG, or it could be 4 or 5 innings. You just don't know what you're going to get first game back of the year. But yeah, Nosey, what's your thoughts moving forward, where this team's at, all that good stuff?
So we're definitely in a position where I don't think you need to rush anybody. I think that's kind of the beauty of where we're at today, where, again, our bats have really led this team as we've had some ailment in the, rotation. A big thing I heard today, which I thought was just kind of, a massive point to take in looking at our team, is this is a lot of guys were striking out at just massive clips. And I think if you start looking at probably the last, 20 games, we've seen a reduction in those Ks. Julio, I forget, he had some streak. It was like 6, 7, 8 games where he didn't strike out once. I remember his at bat against the Athletics where, he's sitting there full count, and you're thinking, okay, if I'm on the bump, knowing Julio, I'm throwing that slider, middle out. He's going to swing at that thing, and sure enough, Mason Miller throws a 3-2 slider. That thing breaks 2 feet off the plate. Julio held. I mean, I think he's getting comfortable in those situations, and I think maybe just more comfortable period at the plate. And you're seeing a massive reduction in Ks. I think he's sitting with, obviously through, the 48 games he's played, he's got 42 Ks. I would say a majority of those, and probably a majority of the Ks we've seen, were probably in that first 15 game range where we weren't really doing well, right? We were whiffing. We were making, Severino look like, an absolute Cy Young front runner. And so, you got Polanco. I know Polanco's when he played 38 games, he had 16 Ks. That's massive. Only 16 Ks, 9 walks. I mean, you see a lot of these guys that, hell, Cal Raleigh with 53 Ks, but 32 walks. I mean, these guys not only are seeing pitches, but they're putting the ball in play. I mean, I think that's just the best way to say it. And I think, and it's turning into base knocks and RBIs, and it's helping take a little bit of pressure off the pitching, which in things I had mentioned before were a lot of these pitchers, they get in pitch one and it's high leverage because they can't make mistakes. I think our pitchers are a little more comfortable to maybe challenge a hitter now and then because they're like, you know what, if I miss on this, my offense has got me. We're good. The pitching now, I forget what it was, hamstring with Miller, correct? Is that his hamstring that was bugging him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe it was a hamstring. I'll confirm right now.
Okay, that's a nagging injury, right? And then you talk about Logan Gilbert with his forearm, like I think it was a grade 1 strain. I mean, I get nervous when I hear grade 1 strain because it's like, well, what would have made it a grade 2 or even worse, or a full tear? Is him coming back in 2 weeks actually the answer? Instead of, hey, we don't need to really rush you. Quite frankly, if we could wait till the All-Star break to bring you back, you're fresh. We know your arm's healthy. We're not risking this or that. I'd rather do that because you're seeing the development of a Hancock. Now he's, like you said, better weather. He's getting consistent opportunities. The opportunities he does have aren't such high leverage because we do have an offense that is working and carrying our team and our pitching staff. And not saying that's going to happen all the time, but they're showing that they can play. Same thing with Miller. I don't want him to come back and think he's got to rush through it. I mean, he might be a guy that's stubborn enough that it took him this long to finally say, okay, I got a problem. I need help. I need help getting this, and my hamstring's not there. Great. Well, okay, maybe we need to hold you out a little bit extra to really make sure not only you feel confident in that leg, but we feel confident that you're going to go out there and pitch like one of our Cy Young potential guys last year, And so while, yes, do you want them back at how they have pitched? Absolutely. It's no question there. But I don't want a guy, because now you think about the year, especially Gilbert's the one that I'm nervous about the most because you bring him back and then it's like, hey, Tommy John, well, we're almost in June, meaning we wouldn't even see him till this time next year. So it's one of those things that, and I get now, it's like at that point, well, he would have, if you were worried about that, should have got him surgery months ago or called it a day. I get concerned about that because it's like, okay, is that going to be something in his head that's going to maybe make him less effective? Because it's like, hey, on this pitch that I'd want to really put a little oomph into it, a little extra oomph into it. Am I going to be a little nervous to do that? Because I don't know if I'm going to get back, if I'm going to do something to my arm. Hopefully it's a fluke. It's something that, just, hey, the weather, maybe held his coffee too hard, too long. I don't know. And it just one of those little, just, hey, it was just an annoying thing, being precautious. But that being said, I want it to be precautious because we have the luxury currently to do it. It's early enough in the year. We're playing well enough with everybody that's involved today. I'd almost say, hey, you're scheduled to come back in 3 weeks. We're going to put you to 6 just to really make sure you're good mentally, physically. Now, maybe things change and things plummet, but I just don't see that with this team. I just think that there's too many people here playing too well, and just the way the team's kind of gelling and just systematically working together as a whole. If the top 3 guys in the lineup aren't doing well, the back end's kicking ass. It just seems like there's so many, it's compatible pieces right now where everyone's picking each other up. To me, it's just you're looking at a team. I think that's the thing that we've seen. We've had star athletes, but we've never really had a team, I would say, probably since the, early 90s. That early mid 2001. I mean, so we've had spurts, or we've had maybe runs where we had a complete team. Guys will all just kind of put it together. But I don't think we've seen that in I don't know, 20 plus years. I mean, I wouldn't even say
Yeah.
the team that went to the playoffs a couple years ago was a complete team. You know, there was a lot of holes we had there. I mean, our starting pitching. I mean, our big guy Robbie Ray. You know, like there was holes, and so, and that was supposed to be our ace. And your ace is pitching like a 4, a 3. Like, so I just think this team is just built differently, and I think they're built to endure some heartache, or some loss in some of their teammates, but still be able to keep the train moving forward.
Yeah. And Bryce Miller, we found out. Yeah, and I now I remember the story when it came out. He had right elbow inflammation, which we've heard that on some Tommy John guys in the past. I believe same storyline, right elbow inflammation came out about Matt Brash before the big cut and moving on in that direction. But yeah, you hit on some good points, and I did want to because you brought him up, Robbie Ray. Funny enough, he is absolutely killing it right now for the Giants. I think he has a sub-3 ERA. He has a 9.5 to 10 K per 9. The guy's on fire right now.
The pants have never been tighter
for the Giants, and the Giants are actually highly competitive. The pants have never been tighter. Exactly. But the one thing that we did talk about is other guys stepping up, and Mariners Twitter is quick to throw people under the bus. Mariners Twitter, I love you guys because you help support the show. But I do see a lot of people just get so frustrated with Jorge Polanco having that regressional month, having that slump that we talked about. What's going to happen during the slumps? Are we going to be okay when we get through these slumps? And yeah, Polanco has slumped through this month. Brandon Williamson has slumped through this month. One of them's a rookie. Give him a break. He's also playing excellent third base. Like the guy's making great plays. What's your alternative option right now? Cole Young is kind of the next thing, but are we that quick to just throw Brandon Williamson away? Can we get to the it's not Donovan Solano,
100
right? Like that's
109 at bats. That's and we're saying, because what are we gonna do? Same thing with Cole Young. He comes up, hits some fire, people get some film on him, and then all of a sudden he goes down a little bit.
Yes, I'm excited for Cole Young. I'm very excited for Cole Young, and I'm hoping he makes his debut at some point this year, along with Harry Ford. I think they both earned it. I really do truly believe that they have both earned it at some point this year, that they should be called up. Next guy to go down, or if Mastrobuoni just doesn't, if he finds unsuccess, and God forbid, you got to let him go. He's been awesome, great teammate. And then also Donovan Solano. As much as I don't want to put down a player, I'm not even going to put him down. I was just a real business move is to, we're a month to 2 months past this decision. We should have DFA'd him. Like, there's just no reason to keep him on. Maybe
especially
they're just trying to wait to the hot months.
Well, yeah, especially if he's not giving the opportunity, and that's the problem.
And he had a double yesterday in a 1-run game with 2 outs in the 9th to try and maybe spark something. So kudos to him. And maybe they're just trying to wait till June or July when maybe it gets a little hotter out and he could start putting the bat on the ball a little bit better. And maybe they can find somebody that wants to eat that $3.5 million. I don't know their true what their direction is with him, because if they wait till June and maybe he catches like a week streak, like a week-long streak of just kind of being clutch off the bench, maybe somebody takes a flyer on him to eat that 3.5, which then in turn gives you $3.5 million more at the deadline, which I don't know where their number is at, because $15 million was kind of the number that was set in the offseason. And I feel like we're over that number. If you start adding in the Leody Taveras, the Rowdy Tellez, who's now maxed out his because we're now in May, which we've reached the other threshold. So he's now $1 million plus.
Mitch Haniger.
Mitch Haniger, we're paying
he
for
covered all of it. Yeah,
he covered all. Well, it was not including Mitch Haniger. It was $15 million on top of Mitch Haniger's money and everything. But you wonder how much we're actually getting to the deadline with. And okay, if that's what they're trying to do, is hopefully they can catch somebody who has an injury within their system for one of their bench guys, and instead of going internally to a guy to call up. Maybe they want somebody that's 37 years old, has some experience, found some, late success. Justin Turner was kind of that guy last year who didn't have a very good first half, had a good start to his second half, and then became a Mariner after we traded for him. So maybe that's what they're doing. But obviously, as of right now, he just adds no value. He actually adds negative value. He has a negative 0.6 WAR. He actually hurts your team by being in there. And again, I don't want to bury the guy because he's a phenomenal human being, and I hope he finds success somewhere. He's a professional hitter, and he's 37 years old. I think we all kind of saw a little bit of this. Dude, he's 37. He's been playing this game for a lot longer than any of us. And so it had to happen at some point where you hit that spot, and Seattle's just one of the worst places for it. So whatever happens with Donovan Solano moving forward, I hope he finds a place where he can just absolutely mash. I hope he goes to Colorado and just ends the year batting 320 and ends up with like 10 plus bombs. I hope he does. I really do. But where it currently resides is, you got Ben Williamson at third base, who's going, through a little bit of a regression right now as a rookie. Give him a break, let him get to these summer months and let him kind of go through it. The big thing is the big point I was trying to make is that it is a different situation than Donovan Solano. Donovan Solano is a guy that he's played 10 plus years in the league. You need him to kind of be that guy. A rookie is still trying to find his feet. He had a good first month. He's had a regressional second month. Let him breathe a little bit. Let him get used to it. Like you had said, the analytics are starting to catch up with him. Guys are starting to know how to pitch to him a little bit better. Now it's his turn to make the adjustments, and he's got two great guys to work with in Kevin Seitzer and Edgar Martinez. So hopefully we can get to June and he can regroup and have a better month. But in the meantime, he's playing an absolutely amazing third base, and an important third baseman is good. We can always go back to Jorge Polanco. Do we want that? I don't think we do. We saw how bad that was to kind of go with.
And the way that we're hitting, and I know we've talked about this, I've talked about it to ad nauseum just in the past, and a lot of it with you, is in Major League Baseball, you've seen examples where teams hide a player who offensively is not saying they're inept, they're just not. This is not there, but their glove is so valuable that you will hide them in the lineup. A David Eckstein is a guy that I continue to come back to. Now he had his years, right? Brendan Ryan, another guy who, had his years, but that guy had such a phenomenal glove. It's like I'll take your 2-something batting average, and have you in the lineup, or just to push in the 9-hole. And if you have a good game, fantastic. But what you're going to do is you're going to save me or win me games with the glove. And you look at some of those teams, the Angels, when Eckstein was there, or when he was with the St. Louis, competitive teams. Brendan Ryan, when he was with the Cardinals, competitive teams. But you hide players like that. And right now, you've got JP's playing great. You've got you got a Dylan Moore combo. You've got Tavares, Leo Rivas. You've essentially covered your bases with the other 8 positions. Ben Williamson, figure your stuff out. Like, you've got time, but your glove right now is so elite on a team that doesn't have an elite third baseman. Yeah, we have a super utility, but I'd rather have him be at second base or in late game situations. And so that's the guy we're hiding. And I think maybe where people are having a problem with that is your third baseman, I guess historically should be one of your best hitters, one of your most consistent hitters at least. And in our case, it's not. And and then you go back for the Cardinals, shortstop wasn't their best hitter. That's who they hit. So, and the last time I checked, they've got in the last 20, 30 years, 3-4 rings. So they did something, clearly they can break the norm or the stigma of, your shortstop should be the best player on the field. Well, they might be with the glove, maybe not with the bat. And so
I want to share something. I want to share something with you because you brought up Brendan Ryan. So he played with the Cardinals for 4 years. So here's his stats. So he played with the Cardinals for 4 years. 2 of those years, he was a 289 hitter. Here's his slash line: 289, 347, 406, 292, 340, 400. And then in the in between, 244, 223, and then kind of in there. But 2 of those years, he was batting above 288. That's insane because you get him on the Mariners. You get him on the Mariners, and I mean, he 248,
I think
313,
you have to look at
326.
what the game was then. Guys were hitting. I mean, you had, I mean, I love seeing the clips on Facebook where they this team was loaded, and it's like, oh, guy was batting 330. The 9-hitter was batting 340. Like, it's a different game, So it sounds terrible, but a 289 hitter 15 years ago isn't a 289 hitter today.
No, a 289 hitter then was more so 245, which I would take 245
any day
from Brendan Ryan through that time. But yeah, I just had to point that out because I thought it was funny because
and I think I love Brendan Ryan. I love the mustache he pulled off. Had a family, had my brother and dad. They got to meet him. They had a family friend who actually played college with him. Couldn't have been a nicer guy. But it has it's no shots at anybody. It's more just the reality of that position. If that was a guy that you kind of, you hit somebody. Good teams do it. They hide a player when they go, hey, we've got enough firepower across the board. We just need to make sure we have a defensive good someone there that's, elite defensively at these positions. The hot corner and shortstop, I would say in some cases, maybe take a glove over the bat if you've got enough out there. But you kind of mentioned you mentioned what's going out. What happens when Luke Raley comes back, right? There's another first baseman that comes into the mix. So now you've got Rowdy, you've got Luke, I guess not Polanco. He hasn't been playing there. But I'm trying to think, do we have anybody else coming through? Yeah. And then you have Solano. So to me, that's where you go, okay, Solano, this is where maybe you DFA him at that point when Raley comes back because then it's like, okay, well, what about put him in right field? Well, what if Victor Robles comes back? When he comes back, I think he's supposed to come back before Raley.
No, so Robles is going to be out for potentially the rest of the year. If he comes back, it might be in September. We'll see kind of what that looks like. Raley has the potential. I know when it first happened, it was 6 to 8 weeks. I can do some digging on when he will be back, but also, yeah, I mean, when he comes back, I think you're definitely taking a look at Donovan Solano. You're leaving them with no option to DFA him because the other people that you have to DFA would be your left-handed hitters in Mastroboni. I know he's a switch hitter, but Leo Rivas and those guys, why would you DFA them over Donovan Solano right now? They're actually contributing and they're doing well. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Leo Rivas is on top of his game right now. We've never seen him put up these kind of numbers, which we're all ecstatic
He's having about. A Victor Robles-esque year right now.
Yeah. And then you got Leody Taveras, who, guys are not super thrilled with his stats through his tenure as a Mariner, but he's not doing bad. And he had a timely hit today, obviously a 2-run home run to take the lead. So, I mean, and Leody Taveras is another guy. I know we're hiding a bat, but the guy's got a cannon in the outfield. He's a center fielder playing right field. There's a lot to like with just keeping him in your lineup. He can steal bags. He can do everything else. And then when he starts figuring out this whole hitting thing with, hopefully we can, get him suited up with Seitzer and Egger and everything and see kind of how we go into the next couple of months. But what we're saying is we're set up very nicely to head into the months where typically the Mariners seem to thrive. June, July, August, those are months that they usually find pockets where they're really good. And over the last couple of 3 or 4 years, they've found bigger than pockets, whole months where they're winning 20-plus games. So very excited about that. Wanted to get into the relief pitchers really quick because, yeah, there's a lot of talk about Troy Taylor and his demise. Let's just talk about him being 23 years old right now. We did some digging, and besides in the Jerry Dipoto era, besides Andres Munoz, besides Edwin Diaz, there's really not that many pitchers that get called up at 22 years old, or younger. Relief pitchers, my apologies. Relief pitchers. There's not a whole lot. So the guy got called up at 22, had instant success. We're very excited. Had an injury, coming back from an injury. Yeah, I think it's within the best interest to put him down in AAA, figure out whatever he needs to figure out, have a bad year if it needs to have a bad year, even if it is in AAA. We are at that point where we have the luxury of going out and testing other options. If we want to give Will Klein an opportunity right now, now's a good opportunity to do that. We just DFA'd Casey Lawrence for Jesse Hahn, so now we're giving Jesse Hahn an opportunity, which. Casey Lawrence with that performance last night, be it as it may against the Chicago White Sox, I could see a team like the Chicago White Sox actually picking him up because they just found instant success with Adrian Hauser, who they just picked up. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a team like the White Sox go and pick up him, and you never see him again. He's an innings eater for them, which I hope he does. I hope he gets compensated fairly. He's been a glue guy for us. He's been a Tommy Malone for us in these situations, and he's helped us out tremendously, giving us great outings and innings and everything. But the point I'm trying to make out of this is the next man up could be the bullpen. And the bullpen also, for how depleted our starting pitching staff has been, they've had to step up multiple times, 4, sometimes 5 innings, and most times 3 innings, which – with our starting staff and what we're used to, it's usually 2 innings, sometimes 3 innings, and then at the rare occasion 4 innings. But lately, it's been 3 to 5 innings on a nightly basis. Brian Wu gets us to 7 innings every other start. Other than that, you're looking at 1 out of 10 games that you're actually needing those 2 innings. The other 9 games, you need 3+ innings, and the bullpen has not had sexy numbers, but they have been doing their job. They have been keeping us in ball games. They've lost us a couple ball games, but for the most part, with how many innings we're expecting out of them, they've done a phenomenal job. Bizzardo's been doing good. Vargas has been doing good. Obviously, Troy Taylor's going through his thing. Whenever they decide to make that move with him, whoever the next man up, I'm excited for it. Will Klein is a guy that we've talked about on our Friday Night Lives. Trevor Gott is on his way back. I know he's throwing in AAA. I'm pounding the table just to test out the waters with a 25-year-old that you have in AA. After you go through the rigmarole of Jesse Hahn and all of them, Michael Hobbs. I'm excited about him. His fastball and some of those numbers aren't electric, but sometimes you roll with confidence. I can tell you this from my personal experience being a relief pitcher, that even if your stuff isn't nasty, even if it's not elite stuff, sometimes just having the confidence of where he's at right now. He's a sub-2 ERA. He's been the closer for the Arkansas Travelers. He's pitched in nothing but high leverage innings, and he's been very successful. Sometimes taking a guy who has that confidence is baseball. I understand analytics and I get it, but I'm here to bridge the gap on. I love analytics. I think you find pitchers that you never knew were going to be good. Your Logan Evans, your Brian Woos, but also bridging the gap on the old school mentality of ride the guy when he's high. Michael Hobbs seems to have a little bit of that. And so the internal options to give some of these guys an option and just figuring out, I know Knowlesy talked about this at the beginning of the year. Find out what you have before you don't have it all. Jake Shiner was one of those guys. So yeah, there's my little rant on the bullpen. They're doing a phenomenal job. I'm excited to see what we got coming up through the rest of the year. There's always going to be a DFA guy that might be available over the next couple of months, a trade that could potentially happen. Nosy, any final thoughts on this episode, bullpen, anything like that?
You touched on just like having a reliever that maybe isn't. It kind of comes back. I mean, you look at a guy like Greg Maddux, right? Guy was an absolute artiste with the baseball. Guy wasn't an overpowering guy. That guy, I think, still would shred today, because being able to, if you're a guy that just for whatever reason the ball comes out of your hand weird, your motion confuses people. I played an adult league this last weekend. The guy was so slow to the plate, people got antsy. That changes a batter's, whole mindset up there. And if you can get a guy off just a teensy bit off his approach or off his, his mechanics, that's the difference between a home run and a lazy pop fly to left. And so if you've got a reliever that just has, like you said, it's just got it going on, like you have to ride that. And you can't look at like, well, yeah, it's double A. Quite frankly, double A is triple A today. Like that is the next level to the major leagues. I mean, if you look at who comes up from double A, you have your triple A, which is your extended, it's your extended roster. But if you got a dude, they are in double A because that's where the dudes are at. That's where that to me, that is, if you got a guy shoving there, pitching well, and yeah, he's not overpowering. Yeah, but why is he still successful? The guy spots his ball, great movement, has weak contact. I mean, you've got to run that. And so I completely agree. If we've got guys internally and, again, maybe the Mariners have changed a new leaf with adding some ownership, some new owners into the fold. But if we're not going to, we don't spend money in the offseason, we've proven that, and we're not going to trade our assets, even though we've got log jams in damn near every position there is, then, okay, look within, find a guy that maybe has maybe he's got something going on that really is just really pissing people off and it's causing success for him, and say, hey, we can use that. I'd love to see another left-handed reliever in there. Hell, I'd love to see a left-handed starter sometime in the next year or two. I just think you need to have a different look. But when you're sitting there with righty after righty, as good as they are, but again, that now I'm having a tangent on it. I think I think my final piece with the Mariners is, it ain't broke, don't fix it, just keep rolling. Don't rush anything. Hopefully they don't rush players back. And just continue to. It looks like they're having fun.
Yeah.
And just continue to continue what you're doing. You're gonna, because again, baseball, basketball, football's a little different, but like they're sports that have runs. And we just saw a run that was negatively in our favor. And what did we do? We said, we're done with this. And we took it back and we made our own run. And hopefully it's a run that continues a little bit longer. It'll dip. It's going to dip. But hopefully we can kind of, I'd love to see these runs where, hey, maybe we lose, like I said, we lost 5 of 6. And then we go win 10 of 12. We lose 3 of 4. We win 5 of 8. And, you see this positive progression, and that's baseball and like I said, in basketball. But I just think the team just don't change what we're doing because it is working. And I think you're going to see, Brash getting more comfortable. Hopefully you see Logan Evans and Hancock getting a little bit more comfortable. I wouldn't mind if they continue to progress, moving to a 6-man rotation, especially if you've got guys like Kirby and Gilbert and Miller. If they all, if Miller comes back and maybe there are more guys on needing maybe that additional day of rest, you might be able to extend them a little bit longer as opposed to having to say, okay, we got to have him pitch only 4 or 5 innings. And now you're going to weaken your bullpen by saying, hey, we'll give you an extra day of rest. We'll actually let you go pitch 7 innings. So that, that's kind of my very, very long-winded, all over the place look.
And that's because we were talking about how many innings we've been expecting out of our bullpen. That's why it's always nice to have some internal options, which I think they do, especially with some option or actual options, so you can option up and down. I think Saucedo still has a few while he's going the up and down game this year. And then also want to give a shout out to Brandon Garcia, who has made the full transition to the bullpen, and he has he didn't start off hot, and now he's cruising in Double A. So I want to give him a shout out. I think if there wasn't Trevor Gott and a few of these other guys in front of him, he would be and should be, in all honesty, because he is left-handed and because you don't have, to Nolsey's point, we don't have a ton of lefties kind of pushing the needle. So you might have to go external for that. But that's going to do it for our show for Up West Sports. I'm Gavin Height, and that's Kyle Knowles. Just remember, life's too short. Gas up, your boys.